Letter 19. My dear Father, the visit of the prophet Jesus to the city has produced results of the most amazing character. The priesthood is divided. Caiaphas has publicly recognized him as a prophet, while Annas has publicly declared that he is an impostor, and thus two parties are formed in the city, headed by the two priests, and most men have taken sides with one or the other. But the majority of the common people are in favor of Jesus, believing him to be the Christ. The Pharisees most oppose him because he boldly reproves their sins and hypocrisies. Even Nicodemus, who at first was inclined to accept Jesus as a prophet, finding the Pharisees against him and being unwilling to lose his popularity with them, kept away from the house where Jesus was by day. But his curiosity to learn more of him led him to visit the holy prophet secretly by night. This he did twice, coming alone in the darkness and being let in by his friend Rabbi Amos. What the results of these interviews was, I can only tell you from Mary's account. She overheard their conversation, her window opening upon the corridor where Jesus was seated after supper, alone in the moonlight, for full an hour, gazing meditatively heavenward. His pale and chiseled features in the white moonlight seemed radiant as marble when Rabbi Amos came and announced the ruler Nicodemus as desirous of speaking with him.
"Bid him come in and see me, if he has aught to say to me,"
answered the prophet, turning towards him.
"Nicodemus,"
added my cousin Mary, then came to the corridor wrapped carefully in his mantle, and looking about to see if he was unobserved, he dropped it from his face, and bowing reverently said to the prophet,
"Pardon me, O Rabbi, that I come to thee by night, but by day thy time is taken up with healing and teaching. I am glad to find thee alone, great prophet, for I would ask thee many things." "Speak, Nicodemus, and I will listen to thy words,"
answered the prophet.
"Rabbi," said the ruler of the Pharisees, "I know thou art a teacher come from God, for no man can do these things that thou doest except God be with him. That thou art a mighty prophet I believe, as do all men. But art thou Messias? Tell us plainly. We read that Messias is to be a king who will rule the whole earth." "My kingdom, O ruler of the Pharisees, is not of this world. I am indeed a king, but of a spiritual kingdom. My kingdom, unlike earthly kingdoms, has no end, and those who enter it must be born again. If not, they cannot see or desire this kingdom."
"Born again?" answered Nicodemus with surprise. "How can a man be born a second time? O Rabbi, thou speakest in parables."
"Verily, verily, I say unto thee," answered the prophet, "except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter my kingdom. He that is born again is born a spiritual man and of my kingdom. Marvel not then that I say unto thee, ye must be born again."
When Nicodemus left him, Rabbi Amos said,
"It is indeed true, O Master, that thou art to establish a kingdom." "Yes, Rabbi Amos, a kingdom in which dwelleth righteousness,"
answered the prophet.
"Thou shalt yet behold me on my throne, O Amos, raised above the earth, and drawing all men unto me."
"Wilt thou have thy throne in the clouds of heaven, O Master, that thou shalt be raised above the earth upon it?" asked Rabbi Amos.
"My throne shall be set on Calvary, and at the ends of the earth shall look unto me and acknowledge my empire. Thou knowest not these things now, but hereafter thou shalt remember that I told thee of them."
Jesus then rose, and bidding his host good night, retired to the apartment which was assigned him, and Mary remained wondering on his sayings. Thus, dear Father, it is made certain from his own words that Jesus is the Christ, and that he is to establish a kingdom. But why his throne shall be on Calvary instead of Mount Zion, Rabbi Amos wonders greatly. For Calvary is a place of skulls and of public executions, and is covered with Roman crosses, where every week some malefactor is crucified for his crimes. This morning, as Jesus was going forth from the house to depart into the country, a man lame from his youth, seated upon the threshold, caught him by the robe, saying, "Master, heal me."
"Son, thy sins be forgiven thee,"
answered Jesus, and then passed on. But the scribes and Pharisees who stood about cried,
"This man, be he prophet or no, blasphemeth, for God alone can forgive sins."
Jesus stopped, and turning to them, said,
"Which is easier to say to this man, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Rise and walk? That ye may know that the Son of God hath power on earth to forgive sins. Behold."
Then, in a loud voice, the prophet said to the lame man,
"Arise, take up thy bed, and go to thine house."
Immediately the man rose to his feet, leaping and praising God, and taking up the mattress upon which they had brought him to the door, he ran swiftly away to show himself to his kinsfolk, while all the people shouted and praised God. Thus did Jesus publicly show men that he could forgive sins if he could heal, as the power to do either came equally from God. Does not this power prove that he is the Son of God? You should have seen him, dear Father, as he left our house to go away into Galilee. The street was lined with all the afflicted of Jerusalem, and as he moved on between the rows of wretched sufferers, whose hollow eyes and shriveled arms were turned imploringly towards him, he healed by words addressed to them as he moved on, so that where he found disease before him, stretched on beds, he left behind him health and empty couches. We all wept at his departure and followed him to the Damascus gate. Here there was assembled a large company of Levites and priests, among whom were mingled some of the most desperate characters in Jerusalem. Knowledge of this fact reached Rabbi Amos, who at once sent a message to Emilius, our Roman friend, informing him that he apprehended that there would be an attempt made to assassinate Jesus at the going out of the gate, and asking his aid. Emilius placed himself at the head of 50 horse, and reaching the gate, pressed the crowd back and took possession of it. When Jesus had passed through the armed guard beneath the arch, the young Roman courteously offered him an escort to the next village. Emilius, who informed me of these things, conducted him as far as Ephraim, and then was about to leave him to return to the city, when 4 lepers came from the cemetery of the tombs near the village, and crying out afar off, said, "Thou blessed Christ, have mercy on us." Jesus stopped and called to the lepers to approach. As they obeyed, the whole company of people, as well as the Roman soldiers, drew back to a distance in horror at the sight of these dead living men. They came timidly within 20 paces of Jesus and stood still tremblingly.
"Fear not,"
said he.
"I will make you whole."
He then advanced toward them, and laying his hand upon each of them, they all, at the touch, were instantly changed to well men, with the buoyant form, clear eye, and rich bloom of health. When Emilius saw this miracle, he dismounted from his horse, and falling at Jesus' feet, worshipped him. Now, my dear Father, I have thus far faithfully written all that I have heard and witnessed respecting Jesus as you desire. You must see that he is more than a prophet, and must be the very Christ, the Son of the Blessed. Withhold not your belief longer. Your affectionate and loving daughter, ADINA.